Hi, Pat the podcast editor here. What does it take to start your own business? Well, today, Dan and Lloyd discuss how they made the leap from employees to the owners of their own business and how you could do the same.
A lot of people think, well, I don't even know how you would start a business, but really it's you just fill in a form online and then you have an official business.
So we know that anyone can do it, but without passion and a clear direction, well, you're probably not going to get very far.
If you're not really clear on what it is you want to be doing, and if you're not passionate enough about it, it's not going to work.
Right, let's crack on. This is episode 76 of the Business Anchors podcast.
We're just a couple of business anchors. Welcome to the Business Anchors podcast. This jingle is slightly too long. This jingle is slightly too long.
So how do you go from employee to business owner, Lloyd?
Well, that's both simple and complicated at the same time, Dan.
Yeah.
So,
Which is why we got this episode.
yeah, we should probably start with sharing our experience, I guess, and then discuss some points that might be valuable to people.
And I do think that a lot of people like the idea of going from an employee to a business owner. I mean, when I was employed, I really wanted to do it. But when you actually go through it, there's a lot more to it than just become a business owner, isn't there? There's a lot more to think about than just starting a business.
Well, I think it's like it goes both ways. There's a lot more to think about, without a doubt. But also, I think people think there are barriers that there aren't. So a lot of people think, well, I don't even know how you would start a business. But really, it's just fill in a form online and then you have an official business.
There's starting a business and there's running a successful business.
Yes, but I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's simpler than people think to set up a business and kind of do the first things you need to do.
Yeah, this isn't about just filling a form in online. This episode isn't just...
No, I'm not saying that. But like you said, there's actually a lot more to do to actually make it work and make sure.
Yeah.
And there's so many things to understand and still so many things that we don't understand even at this point. It's just a constant learning experience. And
as we always do, we can share our experience based on what we've done. We're not experts on this.
I've also got points though on outside of our experience of things that will be different to what we've experienced. I'll just keep saying experience and hopefully that will help. Experience.
Yeah, cool. So let's start with a bit of backstory. How we started a business.
Well, I think,
ours is a bit unconventional, isn't it?
Yeah, we were very fortunate, I think, because we did it at a point where neither of us had major responsibilities. I think that's one first.
Did you not have a house or anything?
I had a.
But you didn't have a child, did you?
A mortgage for a first time buy thing. It was quite manageable, cheaper than most people's rent. So, yeah, can't. But that was the only thing from the two of us, really, wasn't it? That we had responsibility.
I was living with mum and dad. I think that was.
Yeah.
So I had a meltdown at my previous job and quit, didn't I?
Yes.
And I came home, crying to mummy and daddy.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
And then I remember having a chat with dad. So our dad has run a successful kind of manufacturing consultancy business for years. And he sort of said to me, you either need to get a job or you can start doing some marketing for my business. And that was the foot in the door. That was obviously starting our own business, but that was kind of the start of me trying to do.
You had a way to like partially see what it'd be like doing your own thing. And I think that's so definitely a lot of people be listening thinking, well, I don't have that luxury of like my dad can say I can work for him for a couple of months and work things out. But I do think the learning point is, and I think a real key thing is working out how you can like partially take steps, how you can gradually do it. A lot of people, and we know of a couple of people that have like quit their jobs, started their new business with like a sum of money that they've been fortunate to, either inheritance or, I've got this savings, so I'm going to give it a go for a couple of months, and just burnt through it because they've gone all in without the knowledge they need, lost everything.
It's a much slower burn, isn't it?
And I think the key message that I want to get across today, probably the most important thing, is to try and find a way to gradually go from employee to business owner. And there are a number of ways you can do it. Sometimes if you're fortunate, like you were, Dad said, well, you can try things out and work for my business for a bit, and that allowed you to work out if you have skills that you could run things for a business yourself. But there are ways to do it if you don't have that kind of luxury, or if you're, say you are older than Dan and I were, or in a, maybe you're not older but have more responsibilities and don't want to take that risk of taking the leap. So yeah, that's something I definitely want to talk about. I think is really key.
Yeah. And I just to carry on with the story. So I remember Dad basically said to me, you can try this thing with me, and if after 3 or 6 months you're not paying your way in terms of getting business in and stuff, then you need to find something else to do. Unfortunately, I didn't want to go back to a job because I obviously had a meltdown and hated working for anyone after that. And then we went on a walk and you quit your job and we started working together.
Yeah, that was about 6 months after that though, wasn't it? And you'd built enough income to cover your costs and stuff. So I think you had the confidence of like, oh, okay, I can actually do this. I'm bringing in more money than I need for like a salary for myself, or, enough at that point, which wasn't much, to be fair. Like we didn't need much at that point.
And then we started KPS Digital Marketing.
Yeah.
I designed a logo on Illustrator, illegally downloaded Illustrator, and then obviously I'm joking.
Yeah, I'm joking.
Downloaded a logo which looked terrible, and we kept that for, we were literally working with we kept that for years.
Yeah. Terrible name, terrible logo.
And then we rebranded to Knowlton. Yeah. Was it like 2 years ago?
I think about that, yeah.
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 And that's kind of how we started. And
yeah. So that's obviously there's so many steps along the way, but that was the start. It was that kind of Dan crying, Dad giving him a bit of an opportunity, that making you realise that, I can actually do this, and I could do this. And then me, I was in a job that I was actually really happy in, and then my boss left and I had a new boss, and he made me very unhappy in that job. We'll call him Tim. We'll mention him before. Thank you, Tim.
It's funny, whenever I speak to Dad about that, he always says, I reckon Lloyd's really difficult to manage.
Yeah. Because
you don't take being told what to do very well.
I have no doubt that there was a reason he hated me.
No, I don't. I'm not saying it was you. I'm just saying
the reality is
he sounds like a knob as well.
He wasn't very good at his job and wasn't a good manager. And like you're saying, because I'm a dick, I don't just kind of let it go. I would be that employee going, Tim, you do realise you're doing a terrible job, mate. Okay, just thought I'd let you know. Yeah, see you later, mate.
No, it's because going back to the thing, you question everything. And but going back to this, so knowing, we'll go into some practical steps, because I've noted down some practical steps I would take knowing what I know now to start my own business from being an employee. Before we do that, knowing what you know now, is there anything you'd change about the journey that we've previously been on from employee to starting a business?
Yeah. There's things I would have changed in the employee phase. So I would have worked more. It sounds strange. So when I was at university, I was doing anything I could to avoid work.
What,
around
like
that sort of age.
drinking 70cl bottles of vodka and 2 Domino's pizzas in a night?
Yeah. And paying for that just with bank loans rather than getting a job.
You were
and
terrible.
then being in loads of debt and having to deal with it later. But I'm not saying just for the money, so I didn't get into that financial problem in my early 20s. You actually
make an effort to try.
But now looking back, I built up, in the jobs that I did have, I built up really important skills and knowledge and experience, bad and good ways of doing things in business. And I think if I experienced different workplaces and different jobs, that would have been really helpful to me. I think the experience I had from the jobs I did have been really, really useful to me starting my own business.
But you could have done more and got more experience.
I could have done much more. And I think, to be honest, mate, I don't think I should have gone to university, and that would have given me a lot of chances to try different jobs and learn from that side of things.
I agree. I think looking back, I feel really bad saying it because I had so many good experiences and made so many great friends and had such a great time at university. But I think I would have been better if I would have known I wanted to get into marketing like this, actually working for an agent, coming out of sixth form at what, are you 18 then, 17? Working for an agency and getting experience in an agency and growing climbing the ladder. I think that experience, imagine if both of us did that, starting an agency, knowing how it all works, because for the first 4 years of this journey, we were just figuring out what on earth we're doing. Whereas you could have started, but again, no regrets. I think
I also think potentially doing that, if you start building yourself up as an employee, it then gets harder to take that step, because you're working your way up the ladder, you're seeing opportunity within a business. So, but maybe that's a good thing. You don't have to take this route of having your own business, but if you obviously want to.
And also it's not right for everyone.
Yeah. I also would be far more open in the journey of you don't know what you don't know. Like even now, there's loads of stuff within business that
you don't know everything?
No, exactly. But I think being open to that and realising there's some things we don't know and there's things we need to learn.
Because in the early days, when we go to like networking events and stuff and we didn't know anything, we would pretend we knew everything.
Yeah, well, and I think not even pretend, but kind of almost, I'd say then I thought I knew more than I think I know now. Do you know what I mean? Like now I'm more realistic, as in like, cool, I've got this really good knowledge base of business and marketing and all this stuff, and I feel like I've really done well there. And but looking back, I think I thought that I knew more when I first started. And it's that thing of just being open to like there's so much stuff I don't know, because I think that helps you realizing you don't know those things, and then seeking out that information and learning from people, and not thinking that I know everything, so I can go down this path.
So what practical steps would you take then? Let's think you're a listener now to the Business Anchors podcast. You're aspiring to eventually leave your job and start your own business. What are the practical steps you would take, knowing what you know now, Lloyd, to try and help the listeners?
So going into my one thing that I said I really wanted to make clear, I think it's working out a plan to gradually try out what it would be like having your own business. So I've got a story of a friend of mine who started his own landscape gardening business. So we told our story of how
he was around my house the other day.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Cool. How you had the luxury of, okay, Dad's given me this bit of opportunity for a couple of months. That's
to try it out
great.
Without risk. Yeah.
If you don't have that, so we'll call this guy Frank, just in case he doesn't want me talking about him on the podcast. So Frank worked in a school 9 a.m. till 3:30 p.m. or something, and he realised this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to go down the gardening route rather than this full-time job he'd had for a number of years. And so he started out basically trying it out, trying to get customers and doing it from 3:30 onwards and in school holidays, and did that for a couple of years and managed to couple of years and managed to grow.
Just an instant thing.
No, that's that's a key point, isn't it? It takes time. Did that for a couple of years, grew his sort of customer base to a point where every school holiday he was full on doing it for customers. In the summer months when he had the light evenings, he'd be doing it and learning what you need to learn, obviously, how things work, getting the experience needed over a couple of years until it got to the point where the income he was getting from those evenings and school holidays was catching up to his full-time income with his school job. And then it's extremely low risk to take the leap. I think if people are wanting to do this, I would say make that risk as small as you can. The difference kind of between what you're earning now and the realistic income you'd have straight away if you took that leap. Because Frank could have done that 2 years previously and gone, I want to be a gardener. I don't want to work in a school. I want to have a gardening business. I want to have these people. So I want to have a team of 4 people. We're going to go out and do these landscape gardening jobs. I think he would have failed because he wouldn't have brought in enough money before he started thinking, oh man, I should get a job again. This is too risky. But making that gap smaller, so doing everything you can to actually go, and not everyone will be able to get to that point where it's like, oh, I'm earning the same, so I may as well get rid of that one. But even if you get to 50%, then that risk is only 50% of your income. You think, right, I've got to work hard in this first few months to get that other 50% to be in the same position I was before. But so that's another way, another example of how you can do this. And it may be that you don't, you don't work in a school, you don't have school holidays, but you have your annual leave, you have evenings, you have weekends.
Also, if you're one of those people like that's listening to this going, coming up with reasons why you can't do it, like, oh, but I don't work in a school, I've got this, I've got that, then you probably don't want a business enough. You probably haven't got the willpower to go through everything that's needed to have a successful business. Because if you're just coming up with excuses, I can't do that because of this, I can't do that. It's like, why don't you try and think of why you can do it? Oh, I could do. And I know there's situations where, like, single parents and stuff where it will be difficult to do that. But there's still opportunities if you really think hard enough to try and figure out when you could spend the time to do that.
And it's completely okay to not want it enough.
Yeah.
Because obviously the majority of people are employees and don't have their own business and extremely fulfilled, have a great career. That's okay. It's completely okay to go down that route. But I think if you do want to go down the starting your own business route, you're going to have to think of, how can I make this work? Is it I just have this one Sunday every 2 weeks where I get 6 hours to invest in this thing?
And do that for 3 years and then,
Exactly. So, I think, so just to summarize, making that risk as small as you can by the time you want to take that leap, I think is the number one thing I would say to do.
Cool.
So what would you do then?
I try to think about this, and if I was to go backwards and be an employee now and know I wanted a business, knowing what I know now, there's like 5 steps I'd probably take. So the first one would be to figure out what it is I actually want at the start. That starting point where like, oh, I would actually like a business. Think of what the goal is. Think of what do you want that business to be in? What does that life look like? Because then you can actually start with the end in mind. A lot of people I speak to sort of say, yeah, I want to run a business. And you're sort of like, doing what? And they're like, don't know, just want to run a business. And I think if you're not really clear on what it is you want to be doing, and if you're not passionate enough about it, it's not going to work. If you're not doing it if you're just starting a business to make money, I really don't think it's not easy to put in all the work and the effort and the hours and everything needed to make it a success if you're just trying to make money. I think what
I think you and I could make more as employees today than we earn as business owners. And
I know sometimes it's like, oh, you got to be passionate about it. We're not necessarily hugely passionate about marketing. I mean, we enjoy it and everything, but I get a lot of fulfillment out of building something with you, Lloyd, and, growing our team and supporting them to develop them. There's a lot of fulfillment about building this thing that's adding value to our customers and that kind of thing. So, have that goal in mind of what you want and start with there. That's what I would just be really clued up on before you even do anything. The second thing I do, once I know what I want to do, so let's say, for example, I know that I want to start a fashion brand. I maybe did something at college where I was into fashion. I really liked it, and I'm like, I want a fashion business to design clothes. The second thing I'd do is I'd get a job at like an industry leading company that does that. Like someone like ASOS, or I'd be applying to jobs where you can really go and learn shitloads about that industry and really be a sponge and soak up. How do some of the most successful companies in that niche, how do they operate? And really, you can literally get an inside look into how it all works.
I think this is really, really key. It sounds weird because you're basically getting a job to not get a job. That's what you're doing. You're getting a job now to enable you to have the skills and the knowledge to not have a job and do your own thing in the future. And I think getting to know the ins and outs of all the areas of the business is so, so helpful. And why I said to you earlier, I would have done things differently. I would have had different jobs, worked more and got more experience, because I think it would have really helped. And I was listening to, I was watching a video from James Sinclair, who's a business owner in Essex we've spoken about before. And he actually showed a clip. It was obviously anonymous and blanked out what the other guy was saying, but he'd employed someone that wanted to start his own business. And the guy came in and was sort of doing entry-level stuff in this business, but was really lucky to have James as kind of a mentor. So he was in there actively saying, I don't want to be here for the rest of my life. I want to start my own business. But he sort of acted as if he was too good to do the job, the entry level jobs, and learn be a cashier and work the till and stuff like that. And I don't think you should be thinking that firstly anything is beneath you, because it isn't. And also the experiences of that kind of thing. So working at the till, if someone like that is thinking, oh, I'm too good for this because I'm going to be a business owner, it's like, no, that's learning, dealing face to face with that customer over a period of time is going to teach you so many skills of what you're going to need in business.
And when you are a business owner and you've got someone working the tills and you're trying to support them to do a good job, you've done that job and you know how to do it. You're not just there like, yeah, do a good job at the cashier. It's like, oh, here's when I was doing it. And also you get more buy-in from your employees. If they know you've been there and you've done what they've done, even at the lowest level, this is what we used to do at Enterprise when I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. You would, even as the assistant branch manager, when it's needed, you would go out and clean cars. You would go out and, drop cars to customers. And it works really well.
I think it really, even within our own business, because when we started, I was the person with the camera in my hand. I was editing the videos. I was writing the scripts. I was doing all of those elements. I think it really helps. And don't get me wrong, now the team are better than me. With all their specialisms in all of those areas, but obviously the fact that I've actually done that and experienced that and tried my best and come up against challenges and stuff, really, really useful. So I think definitely actually getting a job, even though the end goal isn't getting a job, is
also really so that was number 2, getting a job in the industry you want to start that business in. Number 3, I was really thinking about what would I do, because obviously you can get that job and you can learn how to start a business and stuff. A key part of your own fashion business being a success is having an audience of people that you can sell to. So what I would do when you've got that job at ASOS or wherever it is, I would be in your spare time, like you said, Lloyd, creating content, whether it's a blog, whether it's a podcast, whether it's videos, whether it's tweeting, whatever, to document that journey of you at ASOS, or to do with you, and in your spare time start to create stuff online to build an audience of people, even if it's a small audience of people, that eventually you can get to a point where they give a shit enough about you and they trust you and they like what you do that they'll buy stuff off you, so that you can then get to a point where you can quit your job, like you said, and actually start that business with an audience of people to sell stuff to.
I do think as well, like if you're kind of documenting what you're doing, or you're vlogging, or you're doing whatever in your spare time, or even in elements of your work, I think the kind of the weird guy that's vlogging in the office and spending 2 hours at night editing his vlog, that's always the guy that ends up doing good the people that are doing things that everyone else
and everyone sort of looks at them like, what's he doing? What's she doing?
If you do what everyone else is doing, you'll get what everyone else is getting if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think if you want something different,
you need to
be that weird guy that's
But
filming
Lloyd, what if
everything,
everyone takes the piss out of you? And what if everyone thinks you're an idiot?
Well, that's okay, because you're not an idiot.
Yeah.
Okay, business anchors listening to this, you're not an idiot. I'm not an idiot.
Sure about that?
Couldn't even say that without laughing.
So that's the steps I take. And then when you're ready, when you've got to a point where you've built an audience big enough who give a shit about what you do, then take the leap and quit.
Will do.
Cool. That was a nice episode. I hope anchors found that useful.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I think, either if you've just found it interesting hearing about our story, or you found any of the points useful, that's good. Positive vibes from the Business Anchors community.
Yep. And what are we talking about next week, Lloyd?
We are talking about lots of good stuff next week. Probably something that will be to do with marketing or business.
Oh, I think actually we're having a break over Christmas. So we might not be back next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks.
So we need to say Merry Christmas, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope you all have a good Christmas, and obviously sorry that there won't be an episode next week for the Christmas break, but we all need to rest and recuperate. And we've looked back at the stats; they weren't that good over Christmas last year, so we need to skip that. So we'll see you after Christmas. Hope you all have a good break, and
See you in your ears.
See you in your ears next year is.